Hey everyone, we're going to be going through my Balisong collection as of 2024, the start of it, and I'll get right into it. I've got it kind of organized here from ones in this case are the ones I flip the most often. These are ones I flip on occasion. These are the ones I rarely, if ever, flip. But we're going to start with the case and the ones that I flip most often. And we'll just go kind of in order from most flipped to least flipped. If you've been watching this channel for any length of time, then probably not surprising to you that the Nautilus is my most flipped Balisong. I've had it for a very long time, over a year, and I just flip it all the time. Whenever I want to flip something, it is always my go-to. Pretty much EDC this thing, bring it everywhere with me. And despite that, and despite a few nasty drops, it's actually still in pretty good condition. Still no tap, no play. I love this thing. It's really unfortunate that sometimes you get it from Squid and they're great, and sometimes they come with blade rub out of the box. Thankfully, I got a good one. So yeah, I really love it. It is my favorite Balisong, at least that I own. And I'm very happy that I am able to have one in my collection. But, moving on from that, we get to probably the one I flipped the second most, at least recently, the Volt Pro. It's the most recent addition to my collection, and I don't know, I just released a Quick Thoughts video on it not too long ago, but I feel like I'm still kind of waiting to see where it'll settle in this grouping. But honestly, I really don't see it dropping below second place because it is really good and it really matches my preferences. It makes me really excited to try other Balisongs because I love the way the Nautilus flips. This is supposed to be modeled off of Will's flipping preferences, and I love the way this flips. But the Nautilus is not one of Will Hirsch's favorite Balisongs. He likes it, but it's usually not even in his top 5. So if I like this, and he loves this, then there must be Balisongs out there that I'll probably like even more than my Nautilus. So that does make me excited for what the future could hold. Just trying different things out. But I do really like the Vulp. If you want to hear more in-depth thoughts, go watch the Quick Thoughts video that I just released. Next up is my Mako. Now, the Mako is an interesting one for me. I like the way it flips, but it is a little heavier than I would typically go for, and I think it's a little more handle biased than I would like. I usually consider myself to really enjoying handle bias, but I honestly think that the Mako could really benefit from some speed channels on the sides. I think that reduction in weight, especially in the handles, would just make it flip so much better. Of course, not a hardened steel blade, so the blade can bend. I'm not going to bend it now for you, but it bends pretty easily, like I can do it with my bare hands. My particular Mako came with really bad binding in both handles, which is weird, and I was eventually able to fix it by sanding down the washers, but it does have, after that, it has no tap and almost zero play, but I have no idea what was up with that. Kind of an anomaly, I guess, but happened to me. I've never heard of that happening to anyone else, so I can't blame it too much, but it is interesting that it happened to me. But yeah, that's my Mako. It is solid. My favorite thing about it, I really like the feel of the Speed Blast now that I've gotten used to it. Initially, hated it. Now, it's grown on me. It's kind of like this soft metal feeling texture. It's really odd. But the thing I like the most about it, other than the design, I mean, come on, is this handle gap is probably my favorite out of any of these Balisongs. I just love that the handles are close together and it's so small. I love that about it. That is the one thing that always brings me back to it. It's just that comfort in the hands. Next up, I'll kind of do these all in any order, but we'll go with the ones I flip on occasion. My Squiddy C featured a lot on my Shorts channel, which I've pretty much abandoned because YouTube doesn't like Balisongs in Shorts. And basically the only thing I was allowed to flip in those without getting content strikes was this one. So I flipped it a lot. And I finally settled on the fact that it is just okay. I love that it is see-through. I think it looks really cool. I love that it's TSA safe, doesn't look like a weapon. You can bring it anywhere. But in terms of the flipping, it's okay. It's not bad. It just really doesn't fit my preferences in terms of balance. And on top of that, it's super light. So I pick it up every now and then for nostalgia's sake. And just, you know, just for old time's sake, flip it a little bit. But it just isn't quite for me. But this was one of the first real Balisong. Actually, no, this was the first real Balisong I ever got. And for that, it does hold a special place in my heart. I did a lot of learning and flipping on this bad boy. Plus, discontinued. Always cool. Next up, we will go to another discontinued Balisong. The Glider Bermuda, which actually still has some oil on it from when I oiled it last. The Glider Bermuda, I didn't like it as much, but then I went back and gave it some more oil, and it is better with oil, as most Balisongs are. But the main issue I have with it is really just the balance. Doesn't fit my preferences, and also it runs on bearings. And this was my first Balisong ever with bearings, and it's to this day the only one I have with bearings. I just don't like them personally. They carry too much momentum and just too much speed, which is a weird thing to think about because I never thought that'd be an issue. But it's like Camaro EE said in one of his recent videos, it's like integer overflow. It's just too much in terms of speed and yeah, so it's not bad. It's okay. The G10 was so chalky out of the box. It took months until it finally got worn in and feels good in the hands. But it is discontinued. It's from Glider, our good friends down under. And I do think it is an interesting little piece. I like the red. It's a nice color. But moving on, we have the Vulp. Pretty much the face of my channel. Oof. We have the Vulp. I have talked extensively about the Vulp in videos past. So if you would like to know my full thoughts on it, go watch some of those videos. It's a great Balisong for beginners. It just has some minor flaws. It doesn't really grow with you that well, and for me, I've definitely outgrown it, and it just doesn't have great grip. So for instance, right now it's cold outside. Well, I can't really flip it with cold hands because lack of grip. So I will say the Vulp, this probably gets flipped close to once a day, if not every other day, at least for a bit. But still, it's been pretty much replaced by the Vault Pro at this point. So I just don't flip it quite as often as I used to since I have moved on to bigger and better things. Love the colors though. Speaking of the colors, Flip Forge Edit. This one has not been on the channel in quite some time. I don't know why. It does flip good. I really do enjoy how it flips. I think it is the most fun Balisong. But my biggest issue with it is that the 3D printed nature, it ends up having the opposite problem as the Vulp, and it has too much grip. There is so much grip on this Balisong that it starts to annoy my hands after a while. Now granted, I have sensitive skin. They can get irritated quite easily. But I find that if I flip this for extended periods of time, like 5 minutes, it'll just really start to annoy my hands and they'll feel agitated and it's just not pleasant. I really don't know why. There's nothing really sharp on it. It's just too much texture. And that's really all that I can think to say about it. It has a good balance. It's adjustable. It's super customizable. He lets you pick everything out in colors. I like the colors I got on it. I was going for a cotton candy. I think it came out a little bit more watermelon, but I think it still fits with the theme. And I am quite happy to have it. Definitely a pretty cool one. Now, into the depths of my collection. The ones I never flip. Starting with the Vulp. Yeah, so I have 2 Vulps. I had to buy 2 in order to switch the handles. I flip this one more because it has better tolerances and has zippy inserts. This one has worse tolerances. Still, usually no tap. But it doesn't have the zippy inserts, so it's just not as good. Other than that, they are completely identical. Just that has zippy inserts and a slightly better tune. Not too much to say on that one. This one is a cheap Amazon Balisong. This was the first one I ever got that initially got me into the hobby. And it flips like you would expect. Badly. It's completely stainless steel, so it is very heavy and has very extreme handle bias. And like the fan is, if I can get it to fan, it usually doesn't like the fan. Yeah, it does not want to fan. It's that handle bias. There we go. Get that nice V shape. But it is what I learned on. I spent a lot of time flipping this Balisong. I must have had this for a few months at least before I got the Squiddy C. It used to have scales. I took those off. It also had a latch. I took that off to try and make it flip better. I will say that the blade, I believe, is like a Benchmade trainer kind of clone, which I didn't know at the time. I didn't know anything about clones or Benchmade Balisongs. I just bought it because it was cheap and I had a gift card. In terms of flipping, not great. Tolerances, even worse. There's no screws, just pins. It's got not the worst play I've ever seen from some people online, but it's not good. I used to tighten the pivots when I would actually flip this all the time. If you don't know, the way you do that is you take a hammer and you hit the pivots, and that squishes them back together and fixes tap. But now I don't flip it that often, so I don't really maintain it that well. Plus it flips better when it's loose like this anyway. Pretty much the only reason I can still kind of like crank on this thing is because I flipped it for so long. It is not really good by any means. But yeah, this was the first one I ever got. Don't recommend it. Oh, and there it goes. Still has a special place in my heart, though, for being that first thing I ever learned on. Has that familiar feeling. Now, these two are interesting. These are Lego Balisongs. Now, this one is actually missing. Yeah, this is in a different configuration. There's like two configurations. This has, one of which has like normal handle gap, kind of like that, but this one has handle slap. I don't really remember why I switched it to this one, but it doesn't flip very well. I believe this is my version 5 of a Lego Balisong trainer, so we went through a lot of iterations and engineering, quote unquote, to get here, and it doesn't flip well. I can't say I recommend it. It's mostly just too light and really flimsy. I mean, you can, that's the play. That's not even like, you can bend it farther because it's plastic, but that's just the play. But, you know, technically it is flippable, so give it credit for that. Let's see if I can get a Z choker. No. Not a chance. There is not a chance in the world that you're hitting a Z choker. Oh my goodness. I did it. Best Balisong ever. Okay, I kind of figured out how to do it, but it's really weird and doesn't look good. But yeah, that is Lego Balisong Mark V. I suspect this would be good for learning the basic open, maybe something like that, maybe some twirls, but other than that, not much else. Now, we move on to this bad boy. This is the Mark VI, and I did not bother making it look very good because it's Legos. I mean, it's not going to flip good anyway. There's no point in searching for all those pieces. But yeah, it flips. Better than that one, but not by much. Let's see if we can get a Z choker on this one though. Well, yeah, we did get it first try. They're just, you know, it has the same issues that one has mostly. Too light. Tolerances are about the same. But yeah, the only reason I made the Mark VI and didn't stop at 5 was because on this one, the blade is the same thickness as the handles, so it's kind of hard to do stuff like rollovers because you have to pinch this really small area and then do it. It just doesn't work that well. Sorry about that. But, so I made V6. Blade is thinner than the handles. That way you can just grab and toss. So it works better in that regard, but other than that, not a lot of crazy stuff going on here. Both of these have weights at the end of the handles for momentum. This one has a weight at the end of the blade also to help with momentum. Yeah, the nice thing about these, I will say, is that obviously there's no pivot screws, so they technically never become any looser. This one can technically become a little looser. You saw I just pushed it in right there. It can go out like that much and push it back together. This one, though, basically has Lego Loctite. These pieces are incapable of moving out unless you take the blade off and then you can take it apart. So that's pretty cool. Another thing I think is pretty cool about them, because they're Lego, boom, fun chucks. Fun chucks at home. So that's cool. Not as good as the official ones, but it could kind of work in a pinch. So I think that's pretty cool. But other than that, there's not a whole lot to say about them. They're Lego. I made them for fun. There used to be another Lego one that I had a long time ago, but it broke. And other than that, this is pretty much my whole collection. Somewhere there is a Balio pen. I have no clue where it is. So for now, this is pretty much all I got. Yeah, what is this? There's 11 Balisongs. I don't know how to feel about 11. In some ways, I feel like that's too many, but I also feel like I really shouldn't count these, especially these because I made those. So, if I only count these, it's only 7. It's not as bad. But hey, we have less than the 12 days of Christmas, so we're doing good. That's pretty much all I have time for in today's video. Just wanted to talk about my collection. Hope you all have a great day, and until next time, keep flipping.